Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's a new week. A new week. We're approaching the Hasidic holidays of Tet Kislev and Yud Tet Kislev. Tet Kislev is when the second Rebbe of Chabad um, was born, and also we passed away. We talked about that last week. And Yud Kislev, the day after, was the date after was when he was released from prison. And 9 days after that was Yud Tet Kislev, which that occurred years earlier, when the first Rebbe of Chabad was released from prison. And then, of course, comes the end of this month is Hanukkah. So we're preparing for a lot of good holidays, and these are winter holidays. Holidays that occur in the winter, and hopefully here in Israel we'll have rain soon. We'll still have rain. Here, let's give it 1 second. Let me give it. Good morning. So let's begin the day by doing charity. It says charity will redeem Jewish people in the whole world. So from what you have, give to others that need more than you do. Even a good word, even a good thought, give. But money is the best. Yishlach Yaakov Malachim. This week's Torah portion, we're talking about what happened with Jacob and Aisav. Jacob meets up with Aisav. Aisav has been looking around for his brother Yaakov to kill him for about 34 years. Meanwhile, he's been doing all sorts of terrible sins and killing people and raping women and stealing things. But that's in his spare time. His main occupation was to find his brother and kill him. He's been looking around to kill him. And he didn't know that 14 years his brother was occupied in learning Torah. And 20 years he was working for Lavan. How he didn't know that, I don't know. But nevertheless, he didn't know it. God kept him away, kept the knowledge away from him. And now finally they're meeting up. Okay, now the Torah is a book that's written by God. And the whole novelty of the Torah is how important this physical world is and how not so important is going to heaven. The main thing is this physical world. What could possibly be important about this physical world is that this physical world has a big effect on God. God cares about the world. He reacts to what we do. We saw the flood came when people didn't act the way that God wanted. And that after the flood, it says Noah made sacrifices, God was pleased, etc. God chose Abraham, he chose Noah, he chose. So we see that everything in this world is very important to God. Now there's a whole system of how this works, what happens in this world, how it affects the upper worlds, and upon what is it based. I think everybody in the world, every human being has a perception of what's bad and what's good. That's what it differs from different people. You know, an Eskimo finds a nice whatever it is, a piece of a living seal or something that he can eat. This is by him the biggest happiness. This is good, right? An Eskimo, a warm day, melts the ice, terrible, melts his whole house. On the other hand, other people will say, warm, that's good. What is good and what is bad? What really is good and bad? You can reduce it down to like animals. Animals, whatever gives them pain is bad, and whatever that gives them pleasure is good. That's like the basic ideas of what humanity is based today. Is there any absolute good or absolute bad? Could it be the things that are good that make you feel bad and things that are bad that make you feel good? Is that who defines what bad and good is? So comes along the Torah, and up to the when the Torah was given, basically the idea was what makes you feel good is good, what makes you feel bad is bad. And some people figured out that maybe spiritual things will make you good. Then everybody sees people die, right? People die. They have their family, the people that they like. They die. They go where do they go to? So people make up ideas. I'll tell you where they go. They go to a place where there's reward and punishment. Then comes religions. Everybody starts making up their own religions, their own beliefs, what happens. And you don't have to wait until you die. There's things in this world which are hidden from us. We don't know what the future is going to be. Will I be happy? Will I be rich? Will I be this? And there's also different philosophies that have opened up, right? Greek philosophies and Stoicism and everything. Just forget about worrying. Just do whatever is practical or do whatever it is. Everybody has their own ideas about what's going on. Comes along the Torah, and the Torah says, listen, God himself, he's the creator of the world. He's going to tell you what's going on. He knows what's going on in the creation. He knows what's good and what's bad. That's the reason why he created the world. He created the world in order that human beings can choose what's good. And sometimes choosing what's good does not feel good. Sometimes it does feel good. And what you do good and how you do it. But the idea that there's a creator that creates everyone, and the creator is always good. The creator is always good. So to the degree that you believe in the creator, that's the degree you're attached to good. And finally, if you believe, okay, there's a creator and I'm being created, so what do I do? So God gave the Torah. Therefore, God gave the Torah so that everybody in the whole world will know what the creator who's creating you right now, what he wants. Okay, Hasidut comes and starts to explain to you that there's two opposites going on in this world. There's what we experience and what's true. What we experience is that this world is really real, and that's all there is just this world. That's what we experience. What's the truth? The truth is it's not so. This world, in fact, the physical world we're in, is at the bottom of this huge, amazing chain of reality, that each level above us is more real than we are. Like the difference between a person being asleep and being awake. When you're asleep, you think it's real. When you wake up, you realize it wasn't real. Sleep was just a sort of an imaginary state. You reacted to things improperly. 99% of what you reacted to was just your own dreams, your own whatever's memories or whatever's imaginations and things like that. And so that's a not real world. There's more imagination, more interpretation, more this. The more real the things get, then the closer to true reality it is. Till there's levels where there's the angels, and then all these religions believe in the upper worlds. You go to heaven. Those worlds are like more real. Even in Judaism, it calls the Olam HaEmet, the world of truth. You get the closer. So what are these worlds? What's going on? So according to Hasidut, and this is a very basic thing, the upper worlds are affected by what we do. When we do something good, there's a whole big circus that goes on in the upper worlds. When we do something bad, the same thing. We have a tremendous effect on the upper worlds. When we know this, then we realize that what we do in this world is not just we're here in an isolated world and one day we're going to die, and therefore that's it. There's just, there's this world and then there's the world to come. It says it's true. That's really true. But the fact is that the world to come is infinitely more complicated than we can possibly imagine. Something like a human being. Right? A person, if he stubs his toe or he puts on his shoes, so he feels it, he knows there's an amazingly complicated system of nerves and muscles and consciousness and soul and muscles and bones that go just to put on your shoes. Tremendously complicated, and perhaps even more complicated if somebody does something that we like, does something we don't like, how we react to it, etc., etc. So this Hasidut is trying to explain to us that what happens when we do something good in this world, and what happens when we do something the opposite, and also where it comes from, where bad and good comes from. What happens? What's the whole dynamics, the mechanism of all the upper worlds? But keeping in mind that the upper worlds are more real than we are, more real. And the reason we don't understand it is because we're just not really real. And the only reason we're even trying to understand it is because ultimately this world is more important to God than all of the upper worlds. And God wants to reveal his ultimate reality in this world, even higher than all the spirits, and he creates everything. So all these upper worlds, which are infinitely more real than we are, they're just creations. To God, there's no difference between the upper world of Atzilut, whatever it is, and the highest angels, and a piece of dirt on the ground or something, a little pebble in your shoe or something. Absolutely no difference. It's all creations. Everything is creations. But the effect that God it has on God, so to speak, that's according to the Torah. When you do something good, God reacts like this. When you do something bad, God reacts like that. That's what Chassidut teaches. And this is not just affecting each and every individual person, which is true, that a person gets rewarded or whatever according to what his deeds are, but it affects the whole world. The whole entire world is one big, huge, amazing mechanism. There was just a while ago that they shot up a rocket and coming back down, it disintegrated. Of America, how long ago it was? One of the astronauts was an Israeli, and he yeah, and they found out why it was because there was one little bolt or something that was loose or something like that. Right, this whole multi-billion-dollar thing, and the whole thing was just wrecked up because one little bolt, which cost like 50 cents or something. So every human being is very, very important, and it's not exactly like that. I mean, God is much more merciful and forgiving than nature is. Nature, you have one little bolt that's missing on your rocket ship, the whole thing can disintegrate. By God, there's a lot of bolts that are missing in the world, and God just keeps the whole thing going anyway. So it's not exactly the same thing, but it's as complicated, even more complicated, right? Complicated. But don't let that discourage you from serving the Creator. Here, the Rebbe just wants you to know that what you do is important. What you do is important, and that in this world there is a war between who decides what's good, what you should do, what's good to do, and what's bad to do. Yaakov says it's good to do exactly what God wants. And Aisav said it's good to do whatever you want. And God set up the world in such a way that if you do what you want, it works for a while. It works. It succeeds. You can be successful and you can be, that's the whole story of Judaism, right? The Babylonians destroyed it, and then the Romans destroyed this, and then the church tried to destroy this, and then this tried to destroy it, and the intellectual movement, whatever it's called, tried to destroy all the enemies of Judaism from all over. Read the book of Psalms. King David, all of his enemies, they were Talmudic scholars, they were geniuses, they were holy people, if you want to call it that. So the war between good and bad is much more delicate and subtle than we can possibly imagine. And here the Rebbe just gives us a picture so that we can have an overview of what's going on so that we can avoid doing bad automatically. Nowadays in America, I remember when I was young, everybody used to smoke. Smoking was a big thing. Everybody smoked. Everybody in the news smoked, and the movies they smoked, and on television they smoked, and the street they smoked, and in the fact that you couldn't tell a person, please don't smoke, please don't move. There was no such thing. Tell them, excuse me, your smoking is bothering me. They say, you don't bother me, go outside. There was no such thing. Smoking, everybody who was normal smoked, right? They all smoked. Some people that affected more. Some people, I had two grandfathers that both of them died because they smoked. They got pneumonia. It was a big thing. Right? It was like popular. You die from pneumonia. Oh, that's the most popular thing. You don't know anybody who died from a pneumonia? Well, I feel sorry for you. Everybody died. Pneumonia was the thing. Everybody died. You were dying. You were smoking and dying and dying. Smoke. Everybody. All of a sudden, they came out and they said, "You know what? Smoking is not good for you." And everybody said, "But I want to smoke." Well, it's not. You don't want to die. I guess maybe dying is not so good. So everybody started stopping smoking because people didn't know. People didn't know. People did what they wanted to do, and suddenly they discovered it was the wrong thing. It was a bad thing. And they stopped, right? They stopped smoking. So smoking was bad. Now they have the new government. They want us in America. They wanted to make food healthy again and make things. That's wonderful. Why not? Good thing. But what about making the soul happy again? What about making the soul healthy? That's what Chabad comes to do. That everyone's soul will be healthy. People are doing things with their free will that are bad just because they feel good, but they're really bad and they're harmful. They're dangerous. What's it harmful to? It prevents bringing the Mashiach. Now we're going to learn about how important bringing the Mashiach is. I'm telling you, really, when I was young, I remember that the smoking was a cool thing. And even the fact that it was dangerous was also cool. It's like, I don't care about life. I'm just living every moment. I'm just, que sera, sera. Seriously, everyone in the movies, everybody smoked. Everybody smoked. Every hero smoked. Every woman smoked. The heroine smoked. Everybody smoked. The good guy smoked. The bad guy smoked. It was a good. You're smoking. You were flirting with death. That's really cool. You're flirting with death. Born to be wild, and everybody thought it was good. All of a sudden, they said, "What are we doing? We're just going crazy." Well, that's the way the whole world is now with what's good and what's bad. People do what they want to. What do I care? Right? What do I care? And the Rebbe is trying to tell us that there's a whole different order of what's good and bad, and that's what we're going to try to learn. Good is Yaakov, bad is Aisav, and they're twin brothers. Good is Yaakov, Aisav is twin brothers. And this is exactly the way that God wanted it, to the degree that it's written in the Torah. It's a story that's written in the Torah, the blueprint of creation. And here we have the story of Yaakov and Aisav. Good and versus bad. Godliness versus selfishness. Ready? Here we go. Also, we have to understand godliness over here is very practical, right? Yaakov was a very practical person. He didn't sit in the mountains and elevate himself and was removed from everybody. And his enemy was people who would play the trumpet and disturbed him, and threw spitballs at him or something like that. That wasn't the so, right? Aisav was a very practical person, and Yaakov was a very practical person. They were both practical. They were both very much in the world. But what is good and what is bad? So now we're going to see. Now we have to remember one more thing. I know we're taking a lot of time for this. These stories happened. Who saw this? Who witnessed all this stuff? What there was a newspaper reporters that were accompanying, like in the war. There were war correspondents, right? So there was Bible correspondents that were accompanying Yaakov everywhere he went to see what he did. Who wrote this? Nobody saw this. Who saw it? God saw it, and God is writing this now. Right? So what we're reading now is what God writes. and interestingly enough, God is one of the characters. So God is writing about what God says. So it's like, how many gods are there? There's one God that's writing the Torah. And it doesn't say, I said to Jacob, and I said, it says, so these are different levels of godliness that are speaking. Anyway, you'll probably have a lot of questions in the course of this, and I hope you do, and I hope you ask the questions. Ready? Let's go. Vayishlach Yaakov malachim. That Yaakov sent messengers. We're going to see that the word for angels and messengers is the same word. But ostensibly, it's talking about messengers. Yaakov sent messengers to Aisav, his brother. Okay, what happens? Yaakov is just finished with Lavan. And Yaakov works for Lavan, and he gives birth to 11th son. The 12th son was going to be born later. It's going to be Benjamin. And he's got his whole family. He's going, all of a sudden he gets news. Aisav, he's been looking for you for 34 years, something, to kill you, 35 years, to kill you. And he's coming, he's got 400 huge men with him. And that's it. They're going to, right? And they're all bent on just, bloodthirsty soldiers, and they're all coming to kill you. So it says, so Yaakov sent messengers to his brother. Messengers to his brother. And the messenger said, basically, I want to make peace. That's what he said. We'll see. He need to do what's known. Yaakov, the source of Yaakov, is a spiritual one. And it comes from, now we're getting into these dynamics over here. Yaakov is a spiritual source. And his source is from the name of God, an aspect of God, which is called 45. Mem is 40, Hey is 5. In Hebrew, there's no numbers. There's just letters. Letters. Later they use numbers also, but the Olam HaTikun, the name 45 of the world of Tikkun. Of the world of Tikkun. What's the world of Tikkun? The world of harmony. How things are supposed to be. The Shoshu Aisav, but the source of Aisav, he comes from the world of Tohu. Tohu means the world of selfishness, separateness, confusion. Every man for himself. So Yaakov is for harmony. Every person fits into what you're supposed to do. You do what you're supposed to do. Find out what you're supposed to do, and you do it. And Aisav is the world of Tohu, which means I don't care what I'm supposed to do. I do what I want to do. That's the world of Tohu. That's basically the difference between a human and animals. Animals do what they want to do. There's no such thing as an animal, what they're supposed to do. What an animal is supposed to do. They do according to their nature. And human beings have the ability, at least, to do what they're supposed to do, right? They can follow their conscience, they come out. So Yaakov is from the aspect of Ma, 45, which that's one of the names of God, an aspect of God, which is the ability to have harmony, to be able to hold yourself back and see what you're supposed to do. And Aisav is the thing of Tohu. Tohu is forget about what you're supposed to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes not. We'll see. Or is the Tohu. Sometimes ignoring peer pressure is a good thing. For instance, or this thing of Tohu can also be genius, can also come. Right? Person genius, he just goes against the stream. Okay. So that's Aisav. The auras of Tohu, these lights of Tohu, the lights of, let's call it the lights of genius. Hey, they are Gadoli Mil, they are very big. And they're not able, Litlabesh, but Kelim, they can't be in any vessels. Huh? Can't be in vessels. Like we said, I'm just taking the good example of genius. A genius, a person, nobody understands him, nobody understands what he is. He gets expelled from school, whatever it is, because his ideas are just too revolutionary, they're too great. But in some ways it's good. In some ways it's terrible, right? In some ways it's terrible. If you say, listen, I'm a genius and I made it, so everyone's a genius. Just don't listen to anybody. You just trust yourself and you go for yourself and you do for yourself. That's called confusion. That's called, how do you say? A jungle, like being like animals. Everybody does what they want. Okay, so Aisav is that aspect of humanity that I don't care what I'm supposed to do. And Yaakov is that aspect of humanity which all I care about is what I'm supposed to do. What's right, what's wrong. So Yaakov comes from this aspect of harmony, doing what I'm supposed to do, or refraining from what's forbidden to do. And Aisav is what's called Tohu, egotism. The light of the Tohu comes from a very high source. This comes from a very high source. Let's go back to the source. What is the source of evil, separateness, egotism in the world? It comes from what's called the lights of this aspect of Tohu. This is in the beginning of creation. It's going on right now. This is before time was created. So this is happening now. What's happening? It says God creates the world. He's got a plan of creation. The plan of creation goes according to God's 10 spheres of personality. God's creating the world. So God cares about the world, and God has limits for the world, and God is giving to the world. So all these things about God caring, that's like God's mercy. And then there's God limits to the world, that's Gavura. And then there's Chesed, there's God's kindness. In any case, that's the world of order. But before that world of order, in order to create, God wanted there to be evil in the world. He wanted there to be selfishness. He wanted there to be these things so that we would defy it. So it says, therefore, when God made the world, he made the world in an orderly way, but he put in there one aspect of the world, which was called Tohu, where the lights went away from the vessels. The aim bechinas makifim, v'hakelim nishbru, and the vessels broke, v'naflu lamata, and they fell below. Therefore, Aisav was below. He was Russia, was very evil. Of a mitzad shorsho, but from his source, he came from this world of Tohu, which really was really higher. It's genius. This is the makifim of Tohu. These are the lights of Tohu, the lights of Tohu, the lights of what's called confusion or egotism. They are above the lights of Tikkun. So like some people, for instance, it's very common. And a lot of people, they don't want to be religious because you become like half dead when you're religious. You're not a human being anymore. You're just doing what it says in some book. You're doing what it says in some book. So you've lost your sort of humanity. If it says in the book you have to be kind, so I'm kind. It says in the book you shouldn't be kind, you're not kind. The humanity is missing. There's no originality in it, right? That could happen in the Torah. You do religion in general, but especially in the Torah, there's a lot of laws in the Torah. So it could be that you've lost your how do you say, your ingenuity. There's a better word for it, your originality. And on the other hand, being separate from the world, being separate from the Torah, no laws. So you get like, great musicians and artists and writers and philosophers and these genius people that come up with these fantastic ideas that you don't find in the religious world. You don't find the religious world would not have created a Chopin or a whatever it is, a Rachmaninoff. These people just sat and they did whatever they want to when they wanted to, and it just happens to be that they wanted music and they got genius. That's tohu. No egotism, but on the other hand, Torah is tikkun. Torah is everything is very harmonious one with the other. So it's sort of very too limited. So in its source, tohu, the world of tohu, of egotism, is higher than the world of tikkun. The Torah did not come to kill the world, to put the world in a box. The Torah came to make the originality and the genius and the egotism of the world to harness it for good. And that's the thing of Yaakov and Aisav. Yaakov, that he's the thing of harmony and order. He came to join together with Aisav so that there'll be both of them. There'll be the enthusiasm and the egotism and the separateness and the uniqueness of every human being, but it'll be according to the Torah. So Yaakov, he thought they'd been separated for 34 years. He didn't think that Aisav this whole time was bent on killing him. He didn't know what was going on with Aisav, just like Aisav didn't know what was going on with him. They were separated. It says Yaakov thought that Aisav, he was ready that Aisav was ready for a partnership with Yaakov. He thought he was ready. He thought that Aisav had already said, okay, enough of this egotism, enough of this murder and rape and things like that. I realize it's not getting anywhere. Now I want order in my life. I want to do what's right. He thought that Aisav really believed that Yaakov was good and that he had to control himself and connect himself with Yaakov. And that therefore Aisav went back to his source in this level of makifim, the tohu, the surrounding levels of what's called tohu, which is before tikkun. That Aisav said, listen, I have all this genius, I have all this uniqueness, I have this egotism, and I've been using it improperly. I want to use it properly. And Yaakov said, I have all these, the serving God and harmony, but I want the whole world to be fixed up. I want the true potential of every human being to come out. And that's Yaakov. Aisav. Aisav is human potential, uniqueness of every human being. And Yaakov is harmony, that every human being will fit in with every other human being. And Yaakov thought they would put them together. So that there's like that's what's going to be in the days of the Mashiach. The days of the Mashiach, everybody's going to be unique and special and egotistical and etc. But they're all going to do it only according to the Torah. Everyone's going to be only according to the Torah. That's what Yaakov thought back then, 4,000 years ago. How long was it ago already? 3,800 years ago. Yaakov really thought that Aisav was ready to make a partnership. And therefore, Shalach Yaakov sent Malachim, these messengers in front of him. What does it mean, in front of him? Higher than him, before him. Yaakov sent, the Yaakov is this thing of tikkun. So he sent to a level which is above him, a higher level than him, to Aisav Achiv, to his brother. Where was it? Seira. This place which is called Seir. Seir, this is what's called the primordial kings, Malchin Kadmoim, of Tohu. To this level of Tohu, this level of egotism, which is higher than Tikkun. This level of genius, if you want to call it. And then he thought that now they're going to unite. Now you have to remember, Yaakov and Aisav, they are just two individual people, just like me and you. But they were core people. They were core people. They were the ones that were going to set the trend for what's going to be in the future, what's good and what's bad. Bechinas makifim, like we said before. That's the surrounding level of tohu. Kadei, in order to hamshich bechinas makifim, the tohu, that Yaakov thought that he could join and get the power of the originality of tohu, of Aisav, to him, lamata, below betikun. Shu bechinas or panimi, and Yaakov is this called the inside lights, orderly way of creation. Yaakov thought that he could use the genius of Aisav and the order of himself and unify the Yoyer Makif and the surrounding level of this genius of Aisav, of this unique, egotism of Aisav would shine in an inside way, and they could unify together, and that would be Mashiach. They would set the whole tone for this world. Everyone is special. Everyone is unique. Everyone is indispensable. That's Tohu. That's Tohu. I'm special. I'm unique. I can do what I want to, right? And to unify this with Tikkun, Hashem is creating all of us. Hashem's Torah is what everybody should decide. That decides what's good and bad, not us. That they should be united together. Enthusiasm in doing what's right. The enthusiasm comes from Aisav, and doing what's right, that comes from Yaakov. And Yaakov really thought that that's it. We're uniting them both, and now we're going to do, because you have to remember, a couple of weeks ago we learned that Yitzchak wanted to bless Aisav, his evil son Aisav. And Yitzchak, according to what the Rebbe says here, he knew that it was Aisav. He knew how bad he was. But he really thought that he could give him a blessing and it would bring out the good in him. And Yaakov said, no, it's going to take time. It's going to take time. It can't be done automatically. It can't be done quickly like you want to do it, Yitzchak. It has to take time. And Yaakov thought that, okay, the time is up. That's it. For 34 years, a long time. Right? That's a long time. But it wasn't enough time. And in fact, it had to wait another 800 years. And now is the time. But this process has been going on since then. The meeting up of Yaakov and Aisav. So Aisav was externally pure evil, but the inside of him was really good. He just had to be brought into order. And Yaakov's thing was order. And therefore, Tziva Otam, therefore, he commanded these messengers that he sent. This is what you should say to my master, Aisav, Im Lavan Garti. This is what it says in the Torah. He said to these messengers, listen, go and meet up with Aisav and tell him like this. My master, Yaakov, he has been with Lavan. Leave Shor v'Chamor, and now I have oxes and I have donkeys. Hainu, namely, Shiodia, that Yaakov thinks that Aisav is all fixed up, that he's just waiting to meet with him so that they can join together and fix up the world. It says, therefore, tell Aisav that Shekavar Nigmar v'Nishlam Kol Seder Tikun of Atzilut, that I have fixed up, right? Yaakov was the level of Atzilut, pure, how do you say, order, godliness. Yaakov said, tell my brother Aisav that he's the level of Tohu, which is even higher than Atzilut. Says, tell my brother Aisav that I fixed up my work. I've done everything I had to do. You don't have to worry about me. But Tachlit Hashlemut, Kikol Bechinas, all these levels of the world of Atzilut, which are hinted at by what he said. I have oxes, and I have donkeys, and I have sheep, and I have servants, and I have maidservants. This, according to Kabbalah, all these different levels of Atzilut, of holiness, have been fixed up. V'netaknu, by means of this, what's called Shem Ma, this name of 45, the numerical value of God's name. I think we talked about what this numerical value thing is before. I'll say it again in a short way. The name of God is 4 letters. There's a lot of different names of God, but the essence name of God, that's sort of the source of all the other names. That's 4 letters. And the numerical value of those letters is 26. Yud, Hey, then Vav, Hey. Yud is 10, 2 Heys, each one is 5, that's another 10, and Vav is 6. So that's 26. But if you fill up those letters phonetically, so it adds letters, which means the numerical value goes up. For instance, Yud is 10. That's what we just said. But if you spell Yud phonetically, Yud, Vav, Daled, Yud, so you added on a Vav, which is 6, and a Daled, which is 4. So Yud alone is 10. But if you spell it out phonetically, it's called filling it up. If Milui, you fill it up, then it becomes 20. So already we have the name of God is the value of 26. And if you add another, let's say 10 to it, you fill up just the letter Yud, so it's already 36 because you've added on another 10. And the same thing also, you can spell the letter Vav with 2 Vavs or Vav Aleph Vav, and you can spell the letter Hey with either Hey Yud, Hey Aleph, Hey Hey. According to the numbers you add on, that adds on to the numerical value. So this name of 45, I'm sorry, 45, that's one name of God, and that's the name of God which indicates correction, fixing things up. Why, it's not important now, but that's an aspect of God. So Yaakov said, I've already fixed everything up. In the world of Atzilut, the world of holiness is ready. Now I just want to plug into you so that there'll be inspiration, there'll be excitement. That's what Yaakov said, is Li, Shur, V'chamor, everything is fixed up. All this comes because She'im Lavan Garti, because Yaakov said, I was with Lavan. I was there by Lavan in Lavan's house for 20 years. And I fixed up myself. And what is it, Lavan? Lavan is a bad guy. What does it mean? He was with him. For says, no, remember we learned last week, at the end of last week, this beautiful short mimer. This is Lavan Elyon. The word Lavan means white. So it says, in Lavan, as he was in this world, was a terrible charlatan. But in his source, it's called the Lovana Elyon. Was this level of Lovana Elyon, if you remember, we learned last week, that's the source of the all inspiration, the idea that a person can get, I want to serve God. Lovana Elyon is the essence, mercy of God that comes down to us, that gives us the thought, hey, maybe God exists. Hey, maybe I can serve God. Hey, maybe I should serve God. Maybe I can serve God. This little inspiration, that's called the Lovan Elyon. That's the first inspiration, instigation, whatever you want to call it, in a person's mind, in a person's heart. I want to serve God. That's called Lovan Elyon. It's from the essence that from there was the main power to Yaakov. Baal Olam Atzilut, from the world of Atzilut. Because Yaakov's whole thing is, I want to do what God wants. So he said, I've already touched this level of Lovan Elyon. I have the inspiration, point of inspiration. Me'ata, so now, Atzilut, the verb to fix up everything. Since that all of my service has been finished. Me'ata, so now, Ru'ui v'yochal, I am fitting and I am able, to be hasharat, to receive and draw down hamakifim, these surrounding levels of Aisav, of tohu. She'im lo hayan nigmar atikun, because if Yaakov had not finished his work completely, lo yochal lios hamshachas hamakifim, couldn't draw down this makifim, the surrounding levels. Something like, let's take an example. I'll give you an example. the build a rocket ship, right? Build a rocket ship. The fellow Elon Musk is really, impressing everybody. He builds rocket ships. So the rocket ships are very, very complicated, very complicated. And he says they can do things, they can come back down, and they can go up to the moon, they can come back and land back down here again. No, so he builds the whole thing, and everything is working. Okay, now let's put in the gas or whatever it is and light the thing up. And light it up. So before you light it up, he said, 1 second, listen, before you light it up, let's check this thing out to see there's no leaks or low, bolts that are missing, so it doesn't happen. So whoever makes the rockets, it's not going to say, leave it alone. Just put the gas in there and let's light the thing up and let's go. Come on, let's go. We're late. We got a schedule to go there. Everybody's watching on television. No one's going to say that. They'll say, listen, we got to make a check and a recheck and a recheck. And even if we have to push off the television program, billions of people are watching, it doesn't make any difference. We have to fix up the rocket ship first. And then we can ignite it. That's what's going on over here. Yaakov, he's like the rocket ship. Yaakov has to be exactly right, everything right. Then you want to ignite it. You want to ignite it only when everything is totally complete. This ignition, this flame, that's Aisav. Aisav is the flame, excitement. We don't care what happens. And so Yaakov thought that Aisav was saying, okay, I've got this excitement, I've got this, but I do care what happens. I want it to be channeled in the proper way. And only Yaakov, my brother Yaakov, he knows what the proper way is. Meanwhile, Yaakov is saying, I got the proper way. I've been working on it. The rocket ship is all ready. Here, it's a big difference. A rocket ship goes away from the world. Here, it's going to the world. It's fixing up the world. So there, the metaphor sort of breaks up. But Yaakov says, the machine is ready. I fixed up all of the levels of holiness. Everything is in working order. All we have to do is just turn it on. And only you can do that, Aisav. That's what's called the makifim, the surrounding levels. Because if Yaakov would not have finished his work completely, he would not able to draw down these surrounding levels, like it says in the Zohar. The yesh birchata, that there is no blessing, sure you're resting, ba'ata rekanis, in a place which is empty. A place which is not corrected, where there's holes. Ela ba'ata shlem, only in a place which is totally complete, everything is fixed up, everything is ready, there's no breaks, there's no leaks, there's no... Well, actually, that's what Yaakov thought, but now, Shenigmar Tikun B'tachlit, now said Yaakov, I've been in the house of Lavan, and I've been there for 20 years, and I had 20 years, 12 months a year, 4 weeks in every month, 24 hours in every 6 days in every week, 24 hours in every how many minutes there are in every single 60 minutes in every hour. Every single second was a test. Every single second I was there, 20 years of tests, every second, every minute, to say, let's leave this, let's forget the whole thing, it's too much. And I stood it. I didn't I didn't shirk my responsibility even 1 minute. The whole building is complete. All I need now is just excitement, inspiration. And you've got that, Yesod. Harizeh Atar Shalem. So Yaakov said, I am complete. I finished all the work I have to do. I've been held on to my faith in God in every situation there could possibly be. No corner has been left unchecked. I'm complete every way. Therefore, now I'm ready to receive the Makifim Elyonim, your enthusiasm and your excitement and your uniqueness and your genius and your egotism to pull it into these vessels that I have made. And therefore, he sent 400, it says, that Yaakov sent these messengers to Aisav to find grace in his eyes. I know, namely, Shetashpia B'Ta'ir, that the Makif Shalo, to arouse this surrounding level, this tremendously high level of Aisav, a lie to him in the world of Tikkun. And that's what it means, Metziut Achen. That's what it means to find Chen. I hope I have found grace in your eyes, favor in your eyes. Hainu mipaneshi vayelishivur chomor, because I have oxes and donkeys and sheep, etc. What does it mean? I have transformed darkness to light in the world of Tikkun. So the world of Tikkun is all fixed up. It's all ready for you. Harizeh Atar Shalem. This is a complete place. In Cain, if so, Roya, and therefore I am proper to find grace in your eyes that you can come down and unite with me. So simply speaking, what's this talking about nowadays today? What's talking about nowadays? It's very common. This thing is very common. It's happening now, especially in Israel. Very common. It's happening. We got the government. Just take a simple way. The government of Israel stood up and it said, we are secular. We're secular. The secular is good. Look at the religious people. They're terrible. They can't. What are they going to do? They're going to sit and learn Torah all day. They can't make a government. They can't make an army. They can't build buildings. What are they doing? They have no even desire to do this, right? The religious people, that's like tikkun. They're sitting and they know what's right and they know what is wrong and they know what the goal is and they know what the purpose is, but they don't do anything. They don't do anything. They haven't got any how do you say, ingenuity, inspiration to fix up the world. They just want the world as it is. Sit and learn Torah, and maybe even better to go to heaven. On the other hand, the secular Jews that came in, the Zionists came in, they were full of inspiration, and they went and they conquered and they went and they built and they taught and they did schools and everything. Okay. And so, okay, there's a good side to both sides, and there's a bad side to both sides. The good side to the religious people is ostensibly they truly know what's right and wrong, right? When Shabbat comes along, you don't light fire. That's what God says, you know. when it comes in the morning, you're supposed to put on tefillin. You're supposed to eat kosher food. You don't eat lobsters and crabs and things like that. Okay, but by the religious people, let's just say this: it was too orderly. There was nothing new, no breakthroughs, no novelties. God will do it. God took us out of Egypt. He split the sea. He'll take care of the whole thing. By the non-religious people, they were building and they were doing, but they didn't know what was right and wrong. Shabbat isn't Shabbat. They were proud that they ate on Yom Kippur. They used to make big meals in the kibbutzim from eating pork and things like that. And things like that. But on the other hand, they were building, they were going, they were moving, they were handsome, they were lively, they were full of life, they were dancing and making music, right? Which is a good thing, right? And the religious people had like almost zero music and no dancing, a little bit, nothing out there. Okay. Comes along the Rebbe of Chabad and he says, listen, you got to have both. Now, in Chabad, the fact of the matter is that there was a lot of dancing, a lot of singing, a lot of going out. But the idea was especially to wake up the inner source of the non-religious Jews that you are a Jew. In your essence, you're a Jew. And the religious people, they didn't have to remind themselves all the time that they're Jews. It was obvious. It was an thing. As soon as the non-religious people woke up, hey, my real identity is I'm a Jew. What does a Jew do? Right? I don't want to be a Jew. I want to be a human being. So came along the Rebbe of Chabad said, you got to be both. You have to unify Yaakov, which is being a Jew, and Aisav, which means being a human being. Right? You have to be free. You're unique. You do what you want. But on the other hand, what you want should be what it says in the Torah, because that's absolute. That's a Jew. A Jew is a real identity. It's not just something that the religious people made up. So that's called the unification of Aisav and Yaakov. The energy, the life, the happiness, the joy, the wildness of being just a human being is united with the order and the properness and the correctness of being a Jew. And suddenly these things unite together, and that makes a Jew that's really alive, a Jew that's really happy. That's what Yaakov wanted to do back then, right? How many people don't want to be religious because it's a miserable life? Who wants to be like that? They want to do, right? And how many of religious people, they don't want to be just free because they like a comfort zone. They want to live in their comfort zone. To unite both of these things together, that everybody acts only according to the Torah, but they do it with all of their being and all of their happiness. That's what Yaakov wanted to do back then. And that if Yaakov and Aisav would have made that meeting back then Judaism would have been totally different, right? It would have been totally different. It would have been an example to the whole entire world how you can really express all of your potential the way that God wants. The potential, that's Aisav, Tohu, Akifim. The way that God wants, that's Tikkun. That's the Jude. To unite these both together, that's really the goal. Okay, so we have to do this in each and one inside of every one of us. The Rebbe is talking about it in a big way, but also inside of each one of us, right? Each and every one of us has to unite these two abilities that we have, namely that we have to express our uniqueness and our humanness and our specialness and to be enthusiastic, but it has to be the way the Torah wants. So it has to be this balance between being free and being wild and being orderly and being, how do you say, the holy unification. As we're going to talk about more how we can do it, Yaakov sent to Aisav, thinking that Aisav was already fixed up, and we're going to find out tomorrow that he wasn't fixed up, and what happened afterwards, and that's going to be tomorrow. Okay, let's go and stop the share. here we go. Good. All right, here is a speech. Oh, I didn't stop. I didn't stop. Okay. I got to stop. Okay. I didn't stop before.